So, Jim Harbaugh to the Los Angeles Chargers. Good move. I've got nothing really to add on that. I think it's a great hire. This move, though? Well, welcome everybody to JG News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Gear, and I represent the 904 from the 602. And today, we're talking about the rumor floating around. It is a rumor that the Chargers could potentially hire Colin Kaepernick as their quarterbacks coach. Keep in mind that Harbaugh, back in 2022, when he was rumored to be thinking about the job with the Minnesota Vikings, if he got the job, he was thinking about bringing on Kaepernick as a coach in some capacity. And now there are some rumors floating around that potentially, as Harbaugh looks to fill out his staff, that he could bring on Colin Kaepernick as a result. Obviously, the two have a very good relationship with each other. Kaepernick was the quarterback on the San Francisco 49ers, while Harbaugh was the coach there, helped guide the team to Super Bowl 47. Harbaugh has supported Kaepernick through all his endeavors, and now there is the possibility that Kaepernick could be brought on as the quarterback's coach. I'm here to say right now, before everyone else starts talking about it, it's not going to happen. I can safely say I would be downright stunned, based on Harbaugh's previous history, if he brings on Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback's coach. Here's the thing we're looking at Harbaugh's staff. You have to realize that with a quarterback's coach, the quarterback's coach is often the second line of command in the offense. The offense coordinator is obviously number one, but the quarterback's coach is usually the second line of command. And what Harbaugh loves doing with his quarterback's coach is having guys with loads and loads of experience. If you just go down the line since 2010, of all the guys that Harbaugh has had as his quarterback's coach or passing game coordinator in that time. At Stanford back in 2010, the quarterback's coach was Pep Hamilton. Hamilton had been a coach in some capacity since 1997 and was an offensive coordinator at Howard for 3 seasons. So he had that play calling experience. When he was in San Francisco, Harbaugh's quarterback's coach there was Jim Harbaugh, who had been a coach since 1987, and he was the offensive coordinator of the Chargers for 2 seasons. So he did have some play calling experience and lots of experience as a coach, nearly a quarter century worth. In 2015 and 2016, when Harbaugh got to Michigan, his quarterback's coach was Jed Fish, who had been a coach since 1997, so for about 2 decades, and he was the offensive coordinator of the Jaguars for the past 2 seasons before that. So he had some play calling experience. Then in Michigan in 2017 and 2018, he brought back Pep Hamilton, again a coach since 1997, and in between that time, from Stanford to his time at Michigan, he was the offensive coordinator of the Colts for a few years. Then at Michigan, 2019 to 2020, Ben McDaniels was his quarterback's coach. He had been a coach in some capacity since 2003, so over a decade and a half of experience, and he was an offensive coordinator at Columbia and Rutgers, so he had that play calling experience. Michigan 2021 and 2022, Matt Weiss was his quarterback's coach. Obviously, things went very haywire there. Not going to dive into the investigation and everything, but Weiss had been a coach since 2003, so about 2 decades at that point. And then this past season at Michigan, Harbaugh's QB's coach was Kirk Campbell, who had been a coach in some capacity since 2009. You look at all the guys that Harbaugh has had on as a quarterback's coach since he's been a coach in the last decade and a half, with Stanford at the very end, with the Niners, and with Michigan. They all are guys with loads and loads of experience. The guy with the least amount of experience was about 14 years. The average guy, about 2 decades before joining Harbaugh's staff. Kaepernick has 0 coaching experience. Kaepernick has been out of the NFL since 2016. He's been out of football in all capacity since 2016. He has no coaching experience. Do we really think that Harbaugh's going to bring on Kaepernick as the quarterback's coach? A guy with no experience based on everything that Harbaugh has done with his staff at that position in the past? Again, I'm not saying that Kaepernick can't be a quarterback's coach. I'm not saying that. And there are plenty of guys that start off as quarterback's coaches in the NFL. You got to start somewhere. And there's a lot of guys that didn't have any coaching experience and became a quarterback's coach in the NFL as their first gig. It's low enough where you can start off as a quarterback's coach. It's not like getting thrown into the fire as a head coach or an offensive coordinator with no coaching experience. That is completely different. Positions coach, it is completely feasible for a guy to have no experience whatsoever and start off as a positions coach in the NFL based on their resume. But just based on how Harbaugh has filled his staff, again, I know he likes Colin Kaepernick, I just don't see it happening. And that's not even taking into account the obvious firestorm and whether or not it'd be worth it for a quarterback's coach. So just based off history, I can't see Jim Harbaugh bringing on Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback's coach. Again, Harbaugh likes guys with experience, and Kaepernick has no experience coaching whatsoever. I think Harbaugh's going to go for an experienced coach to fill out that quarterback's coach position like he has done with every other hire he's made at that position over the last decade and a half. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Colin Kaepernick could be on the Chargers staff now that Jim Harbaugh is there? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, JRGary9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JRGary9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.